Hello everyone, and welcome back to some discussion videos on things that could potentially be returning in the Indigo disc, or may potentially not be returning in the Indigo disc. It's no secret that Pokemon has removed a significant number of features as the generations have gone on, from moves to changing abilities to removing entire Pokemon and entire systems like secret bases and Mega Evolutions from the games. And today we're actually going to be taking a look at one of those moves in particular that got the axe, but it getting the axe was sudden. It was a move that was extremely prominent on a huge number of Pokemon until it just no longer existed. There's been many moves that have gotten taken out, things from the incredibly redundant moves like Karate Chop to just outright bad moves like Barrage that only one Pokemon learned and never used, to some pretty favorable and prominent moves, things such as Heal Order on Vespiquen, that was removed because it now got access to Roost. But one move among them was King, and its axing was really without fanfare, and it was Power-Up Punch, and it may never return. But before we get into why Power-Up Punch may never return and the history of this incredible move, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more. We're going to be going live tonight with the Indigo disc, so be there. It's going to be great. So, Power-Up Punch, one of the most famous and debatably even infamous moves from Generation 6. It was the signature move of Karina's team, both in the game and in the anime, and is largely known as the signature move of Lucario, secondary to Aura Sphere, as it was the only Pokemon to learn it by level up for a significant period of time. Others in Generation 7, such as Buzzswole and the Crabominable family, would get it, and then in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Infernape, and in Sword and Shield, Hitmonchan would pick it up as well as Zirara. But for a long time, Lucario was the one heavily associated with this move, and despite it being a TM in Generation 6, and the vast majority of Pokemon actually with two hands being able to learn it, it was a move that its removal was extremely sudden. It vanished in Generation 9 without a trace. We're going to take a minute to show you all of the moves that have actually been removed from the series. It's a fairly extensive list, and you'll notice when going over this, a lot of these are some pretty bad moves that Pokemon really don't use, or are signature moves of Pokemon that actually aren't in the game of Scarlet and Violet presently. Things like Twin Needle, which is learned by Beedrill, or Clamp, which is used by Clamperl, and moves like Sharpen, which don't really have much of a place anymore, to the moves like Return and Frustration, which have been gone for a couple of games right now, to even the very problematic Snatch, which was removed because of coding issues that exist with how the coding transition had to go from Generation 7 into Generation 8, and which was reused for Generation 9, to the Max moves and Z moves, which obviously those are going to be removed because those mechanics and systems just are not in the game. But a number of moves, things such as Needle Arm, are moves that are learned by Pokemon that are presently in Scarlet and Violet but were taken out for reasons we can't really understand. And the only one that sticks out as odd among all of these is Power-Up Punch. We're going to show a list of all the Pokemon that actually learned Power-Up Punch just back in Generation 8, and it's a pretty expansive list. But this was a move that even in Generation 7, they tried giving the axe. Pokemon only learned Power-Up Punch in Base Sun and Moon if they were Lucario with the Crabominable family, or Buzzswole. Nothing else learned it. There was no TM, and it did not pass down via breeding. Only in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon did they open it up to breeding access, and the Pokemon that got Power-Up Punch via breeding was incredibly expansive. Muck, Snorlax, Wooper, Mawile, Cacnea, Cacturne, the Timber family, Lopunny, Greninja. And this was only in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon because there was a fairly significant outcry when they took this move away. They brought it back in Generation 8 where Pokemon could learn it via breeding, but then they just took it out. And why is that? Well, there's a few reasons. One of the main ones is it deals with the way us as players handle new moves that are added to the game, and the second deals with practicality of things. Pokemon has added a huge number of systems that, regardless of their practical nature, regardless of their long-term implications for the series, are a fantastic and fun idea here in the moment. Things like Spinda having a different pattern for literally every Spinda, ultimately causing significant issues down the line with programming for Pokemon Home, which led it to being barred from Pokemon Home due to the toxic way Spinda interacts with home systems, which has still not been fixed, 3 years out? To systems like Hidden Power and Megas, which were insane and really cool, but long-term were very problematic and very unhealthy for the games, as well as Pokemon like Smeargle, which players would exploit to the umpteenth degree in ways that the devs never anticipated. All of these little mechanics cast very long shadows on the rest of the franchise that they never thought about in the moment because they never thought it could be a problem. They never thought, where will things go from here? And Power Up Punch very much falls into the second category of those, where it's something that players exploited to the umpteenth degree that the devs never saw coming. It's a base 40 power move that every time you use it increases your attack power by 1, increases your attack 1 stage. This doesn't seem like a whole lot. It makes functionally another Power Up Punch at base 60 power. But when you consider that to other moves, the more powerful moves Pokemon are going to be carrying, things like Close Combat going from 120 to 180 power functionally, before even same type attack bonus, to moves like Earthquake, which now go to a functional 150 power from a prior 100 base power. It turns most Pokemon into incredibly powerful, destructive behemoths. They don't really need anything more than to survive one hit or even just use a Focus Sash to punch something, gain a boost, and then hit next turn even harder with a move that will actually land a finishing blow. Regardless of whether something like Power Up Punch is resisted, it's going to hit quite hard with a follow-up move. And this is where the problems came into. Pokemon would use Power Up Punch, they'd set up, and it was almost unstoppable. There weren't really ways of handling it other than, well, I'm a Ghost type, you can't use Power Up Punch against me, but many Pokemon that do gain Power Up Punch and would like to use Power Up Punch actually have moves to punch Ghost types, leading to essentially a no-win situation. A number of moves that got removed also did have a lot of redundancy, things that other moves now handled and did better or were removed for really the health of the game. Things like Karate Chop being removed because Cross Chop largely does many of the same things, and Karate Chop was largely a relic of a bygone era, a day when moves were not really well made because the devs didn't understand how to make good moves. It was a holdover, and streamlining the game and streamlining movesets was kind of important. Power Up Punch doesn't really fall into this category, but it is worth noting that they have removed a lot of older moves because they don't really fit. They would just serve to bloat move pools. Something that is more applicable to this is other moves have actually taken what Power Up Punch did, but in a bit of a healthier way. They are either the very powerful move that you can't use a second turn, things such as Blood Moon on Ursaluna Blood Moon, or Gigaton Hammer, which is very powerful, but you can't use the next turn and is only exclude to Tankaton. When it comes to the stat boosters, the newly added Electro Shot and the Meteor Beam are moves that do come at a cost. They have a reduced chance of hitting, have a 95% accuracy, and are a 2-turn charge-up move that will, well, take a turn of charge-up to use. You don't use it for spammable snowballing, you use it for a one-time boost, generally with Power Herb, and you can't really use it again without a very significant cost. Or, the other reliable stat boosting moves are things like Flame Charge or Trailblaze. Things that, yeah, they always boost your stat, but boosting your speed on a very low power move when almost everything that uses those doesn't have same type of attack bonus, and many of them are actually special attackers that are capable of learning it, it prevents it from allowing that move to snowball. Direct offensive boosting is significantly more powerful, and ways of preventing that from being spammable are much more important than stopping a move that can always increase speed. On the opposite side, there is moves like Thunderous Kick from Galarian Zapdos, which does always decrease defense, but there are a number of systems to to punish defensive debuffing or even just offensive debuffing. Things such as switching out, completely negate any of those buffs, or rather debuffs, and abilities like Competitive and Defiant outright penalize debuff potential. Until the advent of Opportunist, there really wasn't anything that directly punished opponents' boosting, especially Power Up Punch was a move yet generally used by fighting types, something that the move Punishment, which does more damage based on the number of buffs your opponent has, wasn't really able to, well, punish well. It may make a return in the Indigo disc. We do know that a lot of moves are going to be returning in the second DLC, which will be dropping later tonight, but this was a move that had incredible potential. It warped games around itself, and it cast very long shadows for power creep in the generations afterwards. It may make a return, it may not, but if you enjoyed, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time. So please comment below your thoughts.